Okay, hi. So I just want to say I have changed the art style, if you can call it that, of this video. So let me know if you like this one more or if I should go back and change it to drawing badly drawn stickmen. So this week I read A Tempest of Tea, which is like if the Peaky Blinders were 19 years old and ran a tea shop. But also like if the Peaky Blinders were moody, annoying teenagers who shouldn't be running a tea house, to be completely honest with you, because how does that make any sense? Like, why are grown people, and even like the monarch, unable to deal with these 19-year-olds that they hate? Our story is set in Eternia, where Arthur and Jin Casimir run a tea house called Spindrift that turns into an illegal bloodhouse for vampires at night. I just have to say, the characters in this book talk like they know they're in a movie or something. It's like they're constantly trying to give snappy one-liners, if that makes any sense. Artie acts like she's doing a bit. It's like if someone read Six of Crows for the first time and then decided they were just going to act like Kaz Brekker for the rest of their lives. Also, vampires are going missing in this country and no one knows why. If at this point you're thinking, wow, cool, vampires, I wonder where the story's going.
Stop!
Because there's not much about these vampires. Someone's going to tell us at some point why they went missing, but we're not actually going to learn anything fun about them, which is sad because I really wanted to know. Eternia's current ruler, the Ram, hates Spindrift and vampires, so as a result his guards are always raiding the place trying to find evidence of illegal activity. Per usual, they don't find anything and they leave. So after they leave, Arthur goes to her room where she finds the window open and a figure sitting in the windowsill. It turns out to be a boy named Laith, who is part of the Ram's guard, and he reveals that the Ram's ledger has been stolen, which could lead to the Ram being kicked off the throne. Arthur's like, okay, what does that have to do with me? So Laith needs Arthur's help to retrieve the ledger, and he tells her that she can use it to save Spindrift since the Ram hates Spindrift and wants to close it, and then she can also use it to get rid of the Ram. Of course Arthur agrees. I love how Laith is a captain in the King's Guard or whatever, but he just spends his time hanging around with criminals. Like, did you take time off for this? Why aren't you at work? It turns out the ledger is with someone named Pen Arundel, who is staying in a place called the Athereum? I don't know. Which is like an elite vampire society, and in order to get it, you need something called a marker. Arthur sets about gathering the crew for this heist. The first two of her recruits are obviously Jin and Laith. Their next recruit is Miss Felicity Linden, also known as Flick, who is a forger. Flick is the adopted daughter of Lady Linden, who runs the East Gevant Company, which is an Athenian company that goes around colonizing other countries. So that's great. I was really hoping we would see some sort of interaction between Flick's mother and Arthur, because Arthur hates colonization, which is very fair, everyone should, and Flick's mother is basically running the fantasy version of the East India Company, which is insane. Their final recruit is Matteo Andoni, who's a vampire. Both Matteo and Laith are attracted to Arthur's Kaz Brekker impression, so for the rest of the book it's kind of like a weird love triangle situation, which is so fun to read, yay! Arthur, Laith, Flick and Jin go to Matteo's house to get a marker so they can use it to enter the Aetherium, and when they arrive, Matteo reveals that his marker actually is unusable. So then Arthur takes Laith to find a vampire she can blackmail, and she does. Then it turns out his marker is also unusable. A fight breaks out and Arthur has to save Laith's life, so she gets out Caliber, or Calibor, I don't know, which is a gun that was stuck in a plinth, and the legend was that whoever manages to free the gun would get to be Etonia's true leader, and Arthur managed to free it. Anyways, it turns out Caliber is magic, and it just changes into any weapon that you want, and she uses that to hit someone over the head and save Laith. While all this is going on, Jin and Flick break into a vampire's house to steal something, and they just about escape. Also, I forgot to mention, Flick is helping them in the hopes of finding out some important information so she can tell her mother and repair their relationship, since Flick's mother is upset with her about the forging business. I know sometimes it's hard to accept that your parents are bad people, but Flick, come on. Your mom is literally the CEO of colonization. Anyways, they make it to the Aetherium. Laith and Arthur find the ledger, but Arthur betrays Laith by leaving him in a room full of vampires and running away. Matteo, Flick, Jin and Arthur finally meet Pen, who turns out to be someone Arthur knew, and he's just a chill guy, you know, he's cool. And it turns out that he took care of Arthur after her parents died. Pen reveals that he also wants to remove the Ram from the throne, but he wants to do it the right way. the legal way through the courts. He also reveals that the reason vampires were going missing is because the Ram wants to starve them and use them as weapons on the battlefield. Which is also like, do you really think a guy who's trafficking vampires is gonna listen to the courts? Like, come on, he's not gonna care about the law. Flick is shocked that her mother could be so cruel because her mother's the one that's transporting these starved vampires through the East Javon Company, which is like, what did you expect? Your mother's engaging in colonialism. Like, why are you surprised? So they're like, cool, I guess we'll just do this through the courts, and they go back to Spindrift, but then Spindrift gets attacked again, and this time it burns down. But luckily Flick manages to save Jin and Arthi. Flick takes them back to the Athereum where Lath shows up again, which is crazy because he was supposed to be dead. And he's like, hey, I forgive you, you don't even have to worry about it. And then he tries to steal Caliber, but Arthi manages to get rid of him. Also, Arthi drinks Lath's blood because she's half vampire. Even though she's never died, she just drank some vampire blood when she was a kid. We also find out that Arthi is able to stop her craving for blood by drinking coconut water. Apparently coconut water just makes you not need blood, so I guess all vampires can just start drinking coconut water. The gang decide that instead of letting the courts deal with this, they'll just invite the Ram to a meeting, but then surprise him with the press, who will expose him for his crimes. Flick invites her mother to this meeting as well, and everyone gets all dressed up for the event. What ends up happening is that they show up to the meeting, and it turns out the Ram is actually Flick's mother. I kind of wished it had been a stranger. That would have been more interesting. But also, how does Flick's mother have time to both run the East Javon Company and run the country? So she knew about the press surprise, and then a fight breaks out. Penn sacrifices himself, rest in peace. Jin dies, but someone feeds him blood, so he's a vampire now, I think. Lath manages to steal Caliber from Arthi, and then Arthi finds him in his apartment where he's waiting for her, and they both shoot each other, I think. And then Arthi collapses, and that's the end. I won't lie, guys, I had really high hopes for this book. I was expecting a lot of vampires, a lot of cool world building and whatnot, but everything fell so flat, for me at least. So I hope if you read it, you have a better experience, and if you want me to cover the next book, let me know.